In this episode, I get to speak with Sid Upadhyay, CEO of Wizehire. We talk about putting the human back in onboarding and staffing, especially in the legal industry where the lawyers are looking for their dream team and the non-lawyers are looking for their dream opportunity. It seems like there's a gap that can easily be filled. Listen in for more. Before we get into this episode, we would like to thank our Season 4 sponsor, Affirm Investigative Solutions, your go-to litigation support company. Without them, we would not be able to keep upgrading and integrating new concepts to this growing podcast. If you would like to take your support further, feel free to hit the support button on our Let's Talk Paralegal website so we can continue providing quality and empowering content for you and all our listeners. Hey everyone, welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Today I'm super excited because I had, as most of you know, partnered up with Wizehire, and I have the Sid with us from Wizehire with us today, and we're going to talk about a topic that I get a lot of inquiries on because either I'm hiring or offboarding or onboarding or assisting, or I'm in some way, shape, or form helping with staffing. And so that's why I partnered up with Wizehire in the first place, because I needed assistance with my company as well. And so it was a perfect fit. So we are going to be talking about effective hiring and onboarding and how we can accomplish that and how both parties can be happy at the end of the day. So Sid, welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast.
Hey, Ada, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think what we're doing for the community is like the best thing it needs right now. This is a human business at the end of the day. We're connecting people. We're helping them go through their career, find meaningful work, and just support the community at the end of the day. I love what we're doing here. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And right before we hit record today, you actually asked me a question that really triggered a lot of other questions for you. So we're going to just get right into it and dive into the whole staffing and onboarding topic, just because it's such a big hitter right now. You know, we have a lot of paralegals either looking for jobs. We have a lot of lawyers looking for their perfect paralegal, and they're trying to make them, match made in heaven as far as legal industry professionalism goes. And sometimes we miss the mark on that, right? Sometimes we hire people that check all the boxes, but then at the end of the day, weren't exactly what we thought they were. Yeah. And I feel like, at least, and I want your opinion on this, I feel like it's because of the miscommunication that happens during the hiring process, right? And the onboarding process and the expectations, right? We don't discuss expectations when it comes to the employer or the employee experience. So talk a little bit more about that and how you see it on Wizehire.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on one of the critical parts of this, which is like, if you step back, you think about the industry, and honestly, better for worse, it was very, very like transactional. And we're now actually like waking up, recognizing, going through like the ups and downs of like the last couple of years. And we're looking to go up Maslow's pyramid and find like better opportunities, right? Yes. I think job seekers are pushing and yearning for more. I think employers are thinking around, looking at like turnover challenges that they've had, and really trying to build a cohesive culture. And I think it gets back to exactly what you're saying, which is setting expectations up at the top of the first intro call, that first opportunity. A lot of what we've been doing with, I know a lot of our mutual customers, is really helping that small business, that lawyer that hung up a shingle that's never done this before, navigate this journey, because it's scary, right? Like you're out there fighting against like the Fortune 500s, the big 50 firms that have professional recruiters. How can you compete? And I think hopefully we can over the course of the next couple of minutes like give like some tactical advice, because that's really what this is about. Like at the end of the day, you have a sense of what you're looking for. That employee also has a better sense of what they're looking for following all the challenges post-pandemic. We've recognized that we're looking for certain work-life balance, certain meaningful mission, vision in the roles. And, as that first-time lawyer, that small business owner, let's like step through the process. I mean, when they're working with us, for example, on the platform or on their own, I think it's about taking a step back and recognize, wait a second, when's the last time I actually applied for a job? I think that's the first thing like a lawyer should ask themselves, because the market, the ecosystem, it's dramatically different. It's all about online job ads. It's all about the full brand image that you're putting out there. That's, I think, the partnership there was incredible, because like our job is really to ask the few questions that someone has the answer to. What's the role? What's the location? What's the comp? And then from there, we got to dig deeper. It's not about guessing on any of these. It's about like leading with transparency. And I think for anyone that's like listening to this and like thinking, okay, I'm ready to like make the plunge, make that first hire, like let's step through it. It's the fact that like you got into this business for a passion, and you need to communicate that effectively to every candidate. They're
Yeah.
looking to be inspired. I think like step back, write down your mission vision statement for the business, talk a lot about your clientele, work with Ada. We've got great, templates online, think about that job description, but be really critical and clear, right?
Mhm.
If you're looking for someone detail oriented, go into details. We have to write the ad to speak to that ideal candidate.
Yeah.
I think that's just the beginning of it. A couple of things that I've observed a lot is, think about the strengths that your business has, because so often we're not shining a light on it. Today I was just looking at the data a little bit earlier. There's a lot of talent out there for a few amount of roles, but nonetheless, you need to like step it up. Let's say, for example, you're looking to retain top talent. Flexibility is becoming a critical element of this. If you're comfortable with a remote employee, emphasize that, because only 1 out of 4 jobs in the legal profession are still remote. That
Yeah.
is a strength. Talk about the benefits that you may have. Like, for example, I think something like only 30-40% of ads actually talk about the benefits, or even career tracks. These are all the things that I think so many small business owners and especially up and coming lawyers forget about, which is like, wait a second, I got into this business because I don't want to be like the other company. Let's actually put pen to paper and like set that tone. But I think that's just the beginning. It's that job ad, and then continuing through the process from interview to offer. You got to lead with clarity, transparency, and consistency at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I feel like sometimes the discussion is not had between the both parties as far as what you actually need from this person, right? Like that's like number one. That's like the key. Like the whole purpose that you're hiring somebody, or the whole purpose you're finding a job, is what exactly is the need that they need to fulfill? What are the actual deadlines and the details, right? Like you said, right? So it's the needs sometimes are like, okay, well, why do you need this paralegal? Or why do you need this receptionist or this intake person?
Are we
Like,
going through a
what?
lot of growth? Is the
Yeah,
business changing? Be upfront
exactly.
about it.
Like,
That's
are
the
we
reality.
growing? Are we just trying to fulfill it temporarily because somebody's on FMLA? Like, really, what are the goals and the needs of the company right now during this pivotal moment, right? I always call them transitional periods when you're onboarding somebody. This is a transitional period. You're only going to hopefully grow from here if you play your cards right.
Yep.
And I talk about the process and automation and all that comes after, but really finding the dream builder, which is what I call them, really, finding that dream builder for you that's really going to build it upon the foundation that you've already established. So let's talk about that, because we talked a lot about environmental culture. We talked a lot about why people leave, right? And the turnover and all that. And I know from your side, you have a lot of facts and a lot of feedback. So let's talk about the environment and how important it is to actually create that environment, but not only that, create it to promote it, right? Through the descriptions, through the interviews, through all of that. What do you see on your side, especially at Wizehire? What do you see about that?
I think the biggest thing to take into practice that so many people are waking up and recognizing is, hey, we want to write down a vision, mission. We want to live a culture that isn't just something written on the wall, right?
Mm.
And I think when you think about your hiring process, your onboarding process, a lot of this is, in some sense, we want to borrow from the Fortune 500s, right? It's the employee life cycle, and you want to step back and think about, okay, I'm about to hire this individual, but like, let's not make it up as we go. Let's write down best practices. Let's write down like what hasn't worked in the past, and really think about opportunities to ensure that your culture is being lived in those moments. That conversation that we just talked about, like setting expectations, if that's like maps to your culture, great. Think about that onboarding. How do you set someone up for success? They really only get to onboard once, right? You have to give them that context, that clarity.
Yeah.
When you think about appraisals and like feedback, that's the one place that we're so bad about in so many cases. We jump into work and it's all transactional. It's about the work, but one of the biggest things that we found, and we do this as a company, I talk to so many small business owners, I tell them this, which is, every 2 weeks, spend 30-40 minutes with the person and don't talk about the work. Talk about the person behind the work, right?
Oh
Talk
my
about
God, I
how
love
it
that.
grows. Like that is, and it's such a common practice from like Fortune 500 America, but we got to bring it down to Main Street, which is, let's talk about the person. Let's make a consistent rhythm of it. And that's where the magic happens, because, it sounds so fluffy, but it's the conversations where you give a safe space for someone to actually like, say, hey, actually, this is an issue, or, hey, let me give you that feedback. And now you can think about, wait a second, that problem that we've had that we thought were like not related are actually all connected. It's all about the consistency of that, that format, which is, highs, lows, where can I help you? What feedback do you have for me as like, the manager or whatever the case? Over time, you'll get there. And I think this is all about, people are yearning to deliver a better workplace. They're recognizing the need to, retain top talent, and that's the way to do it. And I think it's a lot of openness is what we're finding when we talk with legal professionals that are trying to take it to the next level right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said that 30 to 40 minutes on the person behind the work. I mean, that is going on my wall somewhere because that is part of our team building and our consulting in a nutshell, right? We are here to build people, humans, right? We're not here to build robots. And with all the technology and the AI and all that good stuff, we can utilize it to support the human aspect. But, we often take out the human from the human resource, right? Which is something that we discuss throughout the podcast in general.
Again,
But
we
I
think of
love
it
that you
so much
said
as
that
like the
behind the work.
minutia, the regulatory compliance. It's not that. It's the person and ensuring that you as a manager are giving them a great workplace, right? At the end of the day.
Absolutely. And some of the downfalls, I would say, in not doing that you just suggested about the person behind the work is when you see your highest performer decline in productivity and efficiency and effectiveness, that right there should be a red flag. That right there is a great opportunity to bring them in and say, what's going on? Is there something I can help you with? Do you need more tools? Are the templates need upgrading? Is there something personal happening in your life? Maybe you don't have to be so detailed about it, but let me know. How can I help you? That
Yep.
is the biggest opportunity to be like, what can I do for you? When somebody comes to you and gives you the 2-week notice, even though there's no law out there that tells you that you need to, they could just literally walk out,
At will
especially
employment, right? As we know.
exactly. It's a courtesy, right? A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, when somebody gives you the 2-week notice, well, what drew you to this conclusion? What brought you to this moment? What could I have done better in order to cultivate and keep you and continue your legal growth? That's a great opportunity, not an exit interview. Nobody wants an exit interview. What
Bingo.
is that? It happened to me, and I'm like, what is this? A month
Well, we
after
need
I
our
left.
state interviews. That's actually a thing we need to formalize, which is a routine. The questions you're asking when it's someone's last day, ask those regularly, quarterly, semi-annually, do whatever is needed, but make a moment to say, hey, why are you excited and staying in this business? Because that's the thing, right? Every single day, you, the employer, that individual are waking up and saying, I'm excited about this opportunity. This is where I'm meant to be, right? And let's keep getting that feedback far earlier in our journeys.
Absolutely. And internal promotions, right? You're looking out for top talent, but you might have the talent already within your organization. That's another one, right? Why are you not looking at your own people? Why are you not moving them around? Like when I do the consulting, that's the first thing I do. I sit down with every employee, I analyze them, and I say, you know what? Your receptionist would make a great legal assistant. And you just get that, you internally, they want to see that. They want to see opportunity within the organization. If they see it's a dead end job, they're going to treat it as a dead end job, correct? Or am I wrong?
And Anita, I think the thing that you're pointing out there, this is there's so much good intention from upstart entrepreneurs, firm builders, but I think it's the fact that there's a lack of resources. And I think the thing that you just pointed to is hypercritical, which is we need to provide tools that describe all the roles. What does the competency and expectations of someone look like entry level in this role versus mid-level, senior level? I think without that rubric, it's so hard for, let's say these entrepreneurs to step back and actually recognize, wait a second, this talent has transferable skills, because they're just thinking about it as separate entities completely and not thinking about it as a career path or a journey at the end of the day.
Yeah, I call it the book effect, right? So you open up a book at a random chapter, you're not going to understand what the book is about, correct? So you need to read the entire book, know the entire person in order to say, you know what, they can start off as a receptionist, but eventually we can totally take these skills and this ambition and this motivation to the next level. I can see a long-term relationship with this person. And that's what you want. That is the talent you want, not just numbers on a page about years of experience, right? So this is often a missed point when it comes to hiring, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they say they want the accreditations, the certifications, the CLEs, they want the 10 years of experience, but what exactly are the 10 years certification? What exactly is that? What in your mind does that create and equate to, right? What are you actually looking for? Because 10 years of experience in the legal industry can mean anything from A to Z, right? It can be 10 years of receptionist work and tasks. It can be 10 years of legal assistants, paralegals, lawyer, whatever it is. But what exactly did they do during that time? That's what you need to actually pinpoint, right?
Yeah, and I think what you're getting at, and this is one of my favorite parts of when we start working with customers, is really defining that scorecard for success, right? You, the employer, what the outcome you're looking for. let's give you the recipe so you can say, hey, someone that can draft, M&A agreements in like 3 days time, like that's a really high bar. Okay, let's decompose that into the skill set. And then let's think about that skill set, and along the process of hiring, onboarding, appraising, and promoting, let's ensure we're looking really from a skills-based perspective versus the, back to the book effect, like, oh, it's just this like checkbox exercise in like 10 years. I think that's really like what we need to see happen more and more in the industry, which is getting down deeper into the weeds and like really, and I think this is like a great place where like I know our two organizations are partnering to really like promote the materials and give more context, which is like, hey, if you want to have someone join the business as a legal assistant and rise to, this level of, senior paralegal, this is the external education that they're going to need. This is the CLE track that they're going to need. Let's go ahead and like arrive at the place where you can have great talent walk in the door, and you can give them maybe not a perfect path, but clarity beyond the other, law firm down the street who's making it up as they go. That's ultimately, I think, how we'll retain top talent, which is give them visibility and real actionable guidance, not just, hey, do random 30 CLEs. Let's do these specific CLEs, because that's how we'll get you from point A to point B.
I love it. I love it. I love it. This is why you're on the podcast.
We got to make it easier.
Let's talk about tips and practicalities, right? Let's just let's get in there. Let's give them some tactical things to take away. And really, I guess the whole purpose of the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast and what I hone in on is to take these conversations outside the podcast onto their platforms and colleagues, families, and friends, and to share what they've learned on this podcast with others. So let's give them something to talk about, right?
Love it. So, let's maybe step through, that whole process of hiring to onboarding and retaining. And let's like give a couple practical tips. We talked a lot about career progression being a big, big need in like, job seekers' mind. It's a great way to retain talent. A couple of ideas on just tactical ways to do this and like ensure you're doing it throughout the process. First off, in that interview, remember, it's a two-way street. Right? Back to like expectation setting, understanding the needs. It's not just about, hey, this is why I, as a business, am looking to fill the role. Pause. One of my favorite questions in a meet and greet setting is often to ask the candidate, hey, you've had a chance to read the opportunity. I'm curious, what drew you to the opportunity? Right? Because at the end of the day, we're going to be selling the role. In order to win top talent, we have to sell. And that's what we're, take notes along the way. Hey, this is what about your business jumped out to me. I have the, family roots in this community, whatever the case, like make that a point, like be very, very personalized as you go through your process. Ensure that you've built a really, really, I wouldn't say rigorous is the case, but more thoughtful process. So many times we're seeing people run haphazard processes where one candidate is getting a experience about like, hey, oh my God, we are alumni from the same college, where the other person is getting a real interview. Consistency is how we really find, true top talent. So that's, I think, a thing to step back to. I know our two organizations have provided great interview guides and process documents on how to win legal talent. I would definitely check out the blog's content. That's hypercritical. Then
links are in the description.
I think as you think about that journey that you're taking that candidate through, all right, now you're about to extend an offer, you're feeling comfortable, you've done a reference check, great. All right, let's follow through with speed and consistency. This is a market where top talent is leaving day in and day out. They're not just leaving other firms. They may be mid-process and actually get snatched up. So here's where, again, back to like, we're all, practitioners of the trade. Have your offer letters prepped and ready to go. Hop on that offer call, lead. Don't do it over the call. Don't email it in. Don't phone it in. Do a face-to-face conversation. Lead with the context of what your offer is, but talk about the total compensation. Talk about all the things that they highlighted early on in the process for why they're excited, and map it back to the opportunity. Hey, I'm just starting my firm. I'm really invested in developing individuals. You mentioned you're here for a long-term career. Here's how we're going to partner together, right? Like speak to that individual. It's not a cookie cutter offer conversation. When you get that great talent, now we're getting to like where you're the expert, but it's really about onboarding. Back to the basics. Think about that scorecard you set out when you built this role, when you thought about the job description and we helped you write it. Now think about that individual and where we want to take them. It doesn't need to be perfect, but step through that career journey. Talk to people in your industry, in the local community. Who's someone that started out in that role 3 years ago? Get their tips and feedback. And that's how you can build a personalized plan to ensure you can not only bring on this person, onboard them with the right training materials, but also think 90 days out, 200 days out. What are we doing? Are we just in that same static job? No, we're all people that are growing, adapting, and you need to have those one-on-one discussions we mentioned where you're learning about the person, the individual, their aspirations, and helping them modify that document. What's their career path looking like? Hey, on day one, you said you had this path. You wanted to get into real estate law. We've got this new deal right here. Let's bring you into it. You could just observe. It's going to be great for you. think back to who that individual is day in and day out. And finally, as you think about retention and like, like in the future of promotion, again, it's that document, that individual career path where you all are coming together week after week. It's a critical thing. I love having these regular conversations. I maintain lots of notes about it because, again, what is our job as managers? It's to make the team around us more effective. And those are maybe some tactical tips. Ida, happy to go in other directions, but I love what you're doing for the community here at the end of the day.
I love that. I love you really hit on the points that I was going to hit on anyway. So it was great. But maybe in addition to what you said was, if you are going to have requirements, then provide a solution to those requirements, right? So if you are going to require someone to have a certification, have a continuing legal education, accreditations, whatever it is, provide a solution to that. We know those are costly. We know that not all the CLEs are free. We know that they have to participate in some types of memberships and create events and conferences. If they need to go to a conference to get the CLEs, tactical, right? Pay for it. Pay for them to go to the event so that they can get their, CLEs. If they need to take online courses during the day because there's no offerings, at night or during off hours, pay them, pay time off if you can't afford to pay the course.
That's an easy one to rationalize from your P&L, because if you think about it, there's a known cost to that hiring process that you just stepped through. You're working with platforms, you're spending your time interviewing. You can easily add up those billables and recognize, whoa, that ongoing annual commitment and career development is going to pay dividends when you think about the retention right there. Just offering clear career paths often increases retention rates by 20 or 30%. That's powerful when you think about the business that you're trying to build here. So love that. A couple other tips when I think about the top of the recruiting funnel, just like set expectations. We're all in such different labor markets. I was looking up the Florida area, very different hiring market than what I'm experiencing today in Texas. Chat with the local folks that do the research online, set expectations, because what your peers may be experiencing in other parts of the country may not apply to you. And it's super important to go in with that clear context, just so you're not rushing a process or being too slow to follow up with candidates. That's, I think, a helpful thing. Pay transparency is becoming a legal norm in much of the country. That's like a big update following changes in New York this year. Many companies are doing it. And because your competition is doing it, you got to probably think about, wait a second, am I missing out on people by not having that compensation listed? Again, many people are so uncomfortable about it. But the big thing is, when you think about the data that's out there, we've got the data, Indeed has data, ZipRecruiter has data. It actually really helps you understand, wait a second, I'm actually more competitive than I thought I would be. And that's when you can also have really thoughtful conversations about the total compensation. It's not just—
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's not about just the money, right? Yes. It's not about just the pay. People are looking, we spend most of our time providing labor for our employees than we do providing labor for our family, right? And so
work is part of our identity. That's really what it is.
Absolutely. And I love those choices of words. And so understanding that we spend more time at our, doing our work than actually at home, you want to create an environment that they're willing to wake up on time and be there and show and give their best and give their all, and even though they're having a bad day, they're like, you know what? I have such a supporting boss. I'm so happy to be in this environment. That's what you want. You want to create that environment and plant those seeds. But like you were saying, and like I was saying in the beginning of the conversation, that has to be from the interview process, right? That has to be from the get-go. They need to understand who your manager is. A lot of people don't even meet their managers during the interview process. So how do you know you're going to get along, you're going to work well, you're going to mesh, if you don't even have a one-on-one with the actual person that's going to manage you?
We need more dialogues, not monologues. I
love it. Oh my goodness, I'm writing that one down. Oh yes, I love all these little things. But absolutely, I think you hit on all the points that we needed to hit on. And I thank you for, taking your time, because I know you're super busy.
Hey, so we got to do for the community. Thank you for the opportunity. I know y'all are making a big impact. And at the end of the day, when you think about getting started, hanging up that shingle, building a community and support, or building a business to support your community, that's why both of us wake up in the morning and are excited. So thanks for the opportunity again.
Absolutely. Well, that's all good, guys, for this Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Until next time, and until justice is served, I'll be here.